look at graphing our parabola where we're not centered at the origin, our vertex is not at the origin. So it's definitely going to be given to us in this format right here. So now we're looking at our vertex being at HK. And again, just as a reminder from the last video, notice the sign change. So here we have y equals -2 times the binomial x minus 1 squared minus 3. Don't FOIL this out. Don't distribute the -2. Leave it as is. Your vertex, your starting point, is given. It's right here. X minus 1 equals 0. X equals a positive 1. Sign change. 1, -3 is your vertex. Go plot it. Now, once you have your starting point, you need your pattern. So now we grab the a value out in front, -2. We're going to take and multiply that to our sequence of odd numbers, 1, 3, 5. Probably don't need to go out to 7 or 9 because if you're multiplying by -2, you're just making larger, if you will, negative values. So -2 times 1, -2. -2 times 3 is -6. -2 times 5 is -10. So here we go. Time to graph. We'll start at our vertex. We're going to go 1 to the right. And now we're going to go down 2 because the negative value tells us we're going down 2. From that point, we're going to go 1 to the right, down 6 squares, plot a point. 1 to the right, down 10, plot that point. And this is the right side of my parabola. Again, notice in my column of squares, diagonal to diagonal. Keep your curve inside that column of squares. At that end point is my arrow. Once I have my arrow graphed, then I'm going to put in my dashed line. Now my axis of symmetry is no longer the y-axis because we moved off the y-axis, so it's smart to put a dashed line here. This is the line we flip over, the dashed line, not the y-axis. So this points 1 to the right of the axis of symmetry. We'll go 1 to the left. Here I'm 2 to the right, 2 to the left, 3 to the right, 3 to the left, and I graph my parabola. All right. Now, in my math lab, you might see every once in a while there's going to be a transformation problem from section 3.5 put in here. So again, just as a reminder that when you graph your transformations, here, if you click the parabola, notice, as I mentioned in the last video, there's no points here. If there's no points on the parabola icon, you have to do your transformation rules. So you'll click this icon, click at the origin, and it automatically puts the graph here. That's x squared. And then we have to do our transformations. So A is your -2. B will always be a positive 1. There's your C, the -1, minus C, -3 plus D. So there's your changes right here. So if A is negative, you flip it over the x-axis. In our case, it is. You'd want to check that box. Then your vertical stretch or compression. Now you take the negative off of the 2, and you just type in a 2 here. Then our shifts. There's never going to be a flip over the y-axis while we're in standard form. So these should never be checked and never change. They should always be the same. Don't change those. Bx minus c, again, that's going to be my shift left or right. So that's your horizontal shift. You'll just move that triangle in the menu bar. And then your vertical shift up or down, move this left or right based on what value you have. Remember, the horizontal shift, that's going to be the opposite sign change. So like I said, they might sneak this back into play from 3.5 just to see if you remember how to use those shifts again.